trying to figure out where to put my leaf. I'm not using it. even after all these years, I don't always remember the words. I'm modeling imperfection for everyone. So, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. To those in our sanctuary and those on Zoom. Do we have some folks on Zoom? Yes, thumbs up. I am Poppy Rees. I am the Director of Religious Exploration, which means I have the joy of doing the programs for children and youth up through high school. Today is our Ingathering service, where we gather in this room and on Zoom together to start our new congregational year. Joining me in this service is our very exciting new music director, Jen Cohen. And our equally very exciting, but not new, two co-interim ministers, Tricia Hart and Christina Sillari. And we have the also not new but fabulous choir back after summer basking in the sun or working inside a cubicle, I don't know. And how are all of you? Okay. I'm guessing a mixture. I mean, all I heard was well and good, but it is really great to see everybody. Summer for me is kind of hard because it's, you know, everything I do is really for the people, and when there's not access to the people, that is a bit harder. So, it's great to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Welcome back. If you've been here all summer, then just welcome. If this is your first time joining us at CVUUS, that's really cool. We hope you enjoy it. There is a visitor form, a little blue card, I think, on the table in the foyer, like right as you go through the doors, you'll see it. If you leave that for us, we can send you like our newsletter and things like that. Get to know a little bit more about you. You can get to know a little bit more about us. And we hope that everybody will join us after the service down the stairs in our wonderful fellowship hall for social hour, where you can be very social, or you can also just sit to the side and drink your coffee in silence and watch people. I went to a retreat once where we got to wear cards at lunch, like on your name tag. You got to have a sticker on it that said something like resting in silence. I don't know what the words were. It was something like that. So that during lunch, it was basically saying, I just want to eat lunch and not talk to anybody. I had never seen that before. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Because you still want to be around people, like maybe, you know. But I mean, it gave people permission to not have to constantly apologize or talk when they don't really want to be talking. Anyway, I just thought that was cool. So now, I would like to invite Katie Baker-Rouse, also not new. Katie's been here many years, up to light our chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning. I am Reverend Christina Sillari, one of your part-time co-interim ministers, and it's really great to be back here with you in this sanctuary.
Really nice to meet you.
Hi.
I'm Tricia Hart, and I am, in fact, the other part-time co-interim minister. We are changing our what we're calling ourselves just a little bit, and we're not to the adding the interim word. We're not going to talk to you about that at all today. Isn't that great? But we will talk to you soon. Nice to be here.
Our chalice-setting words come from Director of Religious Exploration in New Orleans, Louisiana, Katie Shivani Gelfand. It's called The Spirit of Water.
We light this chalice as a symbol of reunion. We reunite in this sanctuary to share the flow of our hearts with one another.
We gather together in ritual to celebrate our foundations of joy.
To hold each other through storms of grief, to guide one another through rapids of transformation.
To rest together on ponds of stillness. Together we honor the spirit of water, its many forms, and its life-giving essence. So this service, in part, was adapted from a water communion ritual inspired by Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Erica Rees, at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington. This first section, called The Cycle That Connects Us, was originally created by Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon. We encourage you to participate in this process in any way that feels good. We hope you enjoy.
Right, so there will be a time when I will invite anyone that wants to come up and be in a water dance that's happening kind of around here. And you'll know when that is because I'll signal you. All right, let us worship together. Rain falls upon the surface of the earth. Pulled by gravity, each drop begins to flow downhill. Drop merges with drop, flowing together into a trickle, a streamlet, a creek, a mighty river flowing onward.
Some of the water seeps down into the earth itself as groundwater, or deep aquifers, where it will stay for days, years, or even millennia, until it's pulled up again by tree roots, wells, springs, geysers, rejoining the dance, the flowing, the flowing.
Rejoining the dance. That is your signal to come up and get a scarf or not, kids or people of any age, and move as you want.
The water flows on until it collects in ponds, lakes, seas, and vast oceans. And all the while, the sun's rays warm the water, calling it back into vapor, so light that it can rise up, 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 each molecule moving on its own again, rising into the high atmosphere, buoyant and swirling, up to where the air grows cool and the water vapor slows and cools and begins to turn again back to droplets.
Droplets. Find droplets and join together again and again. forming clouds, growing heavier and heavier until at last the weight of them pulls them down and rain falls on the surface of the earth again. Every place on the earth, at every moment, is somewhere in this water cycle. Cycles upon cycles. Flowing, falling, sinking, transforming, rising again and again. Feel free to join me in these motions if you like, in whatever way feels good. Falling, flowing, sinking, transforming, rising, falling, flowing, sinking, transforming, rising, last time, falling, flowing, sinking, transforming, rising. Thank you, dancers.
Our planet, our beautiful Gaia, has all the water it will ever have and has ever had. This water cycle has been spiraling around and around for more than 4.5 billion years.
So this means that the water ceremonies that most Unitarian Universalist congregations celebrate at this time of the year include water that has been all over the world and all over time. The cycle of water is not just about rivers and clouds. Plants and animals and people are part of it because the water cycles through us too, coming in and out of our bodies in many different ways. This is a leaf. I'm starting you guys with something easy. This is a leaf. And I know that there is water inside this leaf. It's green. I just picked it. Sorry, landscaping people. So what I am wondering is, how does the water get out of this leaf and go back into the water cycle? Any ideas? Some of you might actually know this. Transpiration. Anyone want to say more about, does anyone know what transpiration is?
Water is one of the byproducts of photosynthesis.
Water is one of the byproducts, so what's left over, of photosynthesis. So another way to think of it, right, is the water that's out there, whatever the growing thing is, takes water in through its roots, usually grows this fantastic leaf, and it's like the leaf breathes out, right? That's why we want leaves and growing things around us, because it gives us more moisture, which we like, which we want. Right, so transpiration. I am not sciencey. I learned this word when? Yesterday. Yeah. Right, I'm a person who was known to have said sometime after college, that is why it's called the solar system. I kid you not. We don't need to talk about that ever again. Right, so the tiny molecules of water that are still in this leaf, they could have been in the tears of joy and sorrow that were wept by the first person who ever fell in love. The water in the bowl could contain molecules, tiny molecules that were once in the sweat of people who built canoes along our Otter Creek. The water downstairs that makes our coffee that we need so much could have passed through people and time and the space where Dr. Martin Luther King spoke many, many times. Or the water could have come from someone sitting here in this room who, hopefully trying their best, sang in their 4th grade chorus in 1976. If that's you, I want to know during social hour. That was me.
All of this water was once part of the broth in the most delicious bowl of soup your great-grandfather ever ate, or in the blood of the mothers who birthed our grandmothers, 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 or even in dinosaur pee. Are there places that you have been thinking about where water has been? We came out of water in our mama's wombs. Is that what you were thinking? No? Oh, we came from the sea? Yeah, right. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. What did you say? Oh, we, or parts of us, some beings, emerged out of the sea. Deep, deep sea, I would imagine. I saw a hand over here. No? Yes. Yes. A lot of this water, for a lot of its time, stayed locked up in ice. Yes.
And a lot of that ice was originally in the form of meteors billions of miles away.
Yes.
That fell to Earth billions of years ago and created the oceans.
So a lot of that water, all of that water in the ice came from meteorites billions of years ago, hitting together, that came to the Earth. What does that mean? Means that all the water on this planet, perhaps, is from other places, which connects us to those places as well. Yes, Margie. We all floated in amniotic fluid before we were born. Thank you all. Yes.
So, whatever innumerable places this water, all the water in us, in the bowls, in the things, have traveled, have mingled together here like us, the water reminds us of all the places that we have been, all the people that we have been or been with, the places we might go. And it is a symbol of our being and belonging here together. It connects us to each other and everything that has ever been and everything that will be.
So the tradition of water ceremonies in Unitarian Universalism often involves people bringing water from different places in their lives and pouring it together in a bowl. And the way I learned about this tradition is that that water in a bowl symbolizes all the people in a congregation coming together and mixing together and making the congregation real. And that's true, and I now think that that idea is way too small. Because what we've been talking about is that we all are part of the water cycle. We participate in the earth participates in us. And it goes way beyond this beautiful building and these beautiful faces. So the ceremony today is a little bit different. If you brought some water with you, you are very welcome to bring it up when you come up in a minute and pour it into the bowl. And if you didn't, that's fine too. And if you really, really want to just pour some more water in, I think, oh no, we used it all up. No, or you can just pretend. That's always good too. What we want to invite you to do is come up, and they're on the table around the bowl filled with water are beautiful multicolored marbles and also stones. And if you are moved to, there's no obligation, but if you want to come up and be part of this, you might pick up one of those marbles or one of those stones and hold it in your hand. Poppy and Christina are going to show us how that works. And as you hold it in your hand, you might be thinking of a person that you love and miss. You might be thinking of a hope for the world that is tender in your heart. You might be thinking of some wonderful possibility that might be right around the corner. Hold it for a minute in your hand and then put it in the water, and we will make another kind of water dance together.
If anyone does not want to come up and would like me to bring them a stone to hold for a moment and I can put it in the water, just raise your hand and I'm really happy to do that.
Please join me in the spirit of contemplation. And we can start by sitting up tall, taking a deep breath. Just allowing ourselves to be still. Perhaps lowering your eyelids. Feeling your heart. Water is life. Water is sacred. The Tao Te Ching says the highest good is like water. Water gives life to 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places we reject, and so it is like the Tao. The Quran tells us, by means of water, we give life to everything. The Torah is likened to water. Both purify the body and restore the soul. In the New Testament, Jesus speaks of living water as the Spirit of God, taken in with courage, held on to with faith, and expressed with love. Let us attune to the spirit of water within us and around us as we keep silence together.
It is the tradition of this congregation and all Unitarian Universalist congregations, I think, to take up an offering in the middle of our worship service together to remember that the congregation exists because of the generosity and the faith of its people, its members and friends and others that we don't even know who contribute money. It's good that we remember that. And it's very good that we take advantage of this opportunity of gathering and offering every Sunday in order to give it away or give half of it away to an organization that is doing the work that our faith tells us is essential in the world. The donee for the shared offering this month is Oxfam, and in particular, the Oxfam programs in Gaza. Since October 2023, Oxfam has supported local partner efforts to distribute cash and food and hygiene items to people in Gaza. And starting early in this year, Oxfam began working with local partners there to provide clean, desalinated water from wells in southern Gaza with solar-powered pumps to truck water to areas hosting displaced people and to install latrines. Water. Your gifts to the offering will go, I was going to say indirectly, but right along a pathway that this congregation has created and Oxfam too, in order to make sure that some of the people in Gaza whose lives have been so disrupted will at least have access to water. That will happen in just a minute as we take up the offering. I want to say that even though things are a little bit not quite in their normal order this Sunday, there will still be yellow cards. If you have a milestone or a passage in your life that you would like to mark, you can write something on a yellow card and put it in the offering baskets, and we'll make sure that, that Christina has them to read. And also, I want to explain a tradition of this congregation, which may not be unique, but it's a little unusual. At CVUUS, at the end of the offering ritual, which is filled with music, there's another song that we sing. Okay, here's the quiz. What's the name of the song that we all sing to one another at the end of the offering? Okay, Susie's doing the gestures, but the words are, from you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. And the way we do this can be a little daunting to people who have not done it before. People rise in body or spirit, and they sing the song, and they don't look up here toward whatever it is that's up here. They look at each other. They look perhaps in each other's eyes and share the being together in the congregation. So all of that will happen. All of that will happen in just a moment. The choir is actually going to come up and be the music with Jen at the offertory, as well as singing an anthem. So we're getting a double treat today. This morning's offering will now be most gratefully received. amazing, isn't it? That all the water on the earth is all the water there has ever been, all the water our planet has ever had and ever will, and the fact that it was meteors to begin with. I'm going to have to open my brain a little more for that. So this idea must mean, of course, that there is enough water for the whole planet and not too much. But we might have a hard time convincing farmers in California or Somalia or in the Amazon or in Florida, to name a few places that there's enough and not too much water. Not to mention business owners in Montpelier and Ripton and farmers in the Northeast Kingdom and in Addison County. Well, there may be the right amount of water for the planet, but managing floods and droughts and predicting climate, we have a bit more to learn. We are in the water cycle. We are part of it. It's amazing. And thinking about that, just for a minute, makes it easier to understand why we need to care about water. Because water is life, and if we care about life, your little brother's life, the person who doesn't have a home, who doesn't have a sink or a faucet or a glass, we need to care about all of them. We need to care about water. Water is beautiful and delicious and powerful, and water is also vulnerable. It's hard to ignore the reality that we haven't figured out how to care enough to keep water safe from things that are harmful to people and plants and animals. Like what? Name one thing that's harmful that gets in water. Plastic, PFAS, I heard that. What else? My hearing aids aren't good enough, so speak up. Chemicals, yes. Pharmaceuticals. Fracked gas. Glad you said that, not because I'm glad it happens, but it fits with a story that I'm about to tell you. This story is true. It's a story about water. It happened in a small state, a state that is not, doesn't have a lot of big cities. It has a lot of small towns. It's a state with a lot of forests, lots of mountains, lots of rivers and creeks and streams, and people who live in this small state love their rivers and their mountains. Any guesses as to what state this is? You're not supposed to know the answer, but I think Christina just said West Virginia. But maybe somebody said Vermont. Oh, thank you. Vermont. It totally could be Vermont. But this particular story didn't actually happen in Vermont. It did happen in West Virginia, which is a place where I used to live. There are many differences. There are a lot of similarities, but there are many differences between Vermont and West Virginia. And one of the biggest differences is that in West Virginia, there's mining. There's fracking. There's many different kinds of mining, but coal mining in particular. And mining affects water. Why is that? Anybody have a thought? They use water to drill. Yes, that can happen. Why is water tied up with mining? Stuff can get, and what stuff can get in the water and pollute it that has to do with mining? Chemicals, absolutely, yep. Coal, metal, yes. So why does mining, all that stuff could happen anytime, right? But why is mining make it happen more? And how does it do that? How does mining kill the streams? Okay, so all of this is true. Let me just say it. It eliminates the habitat that the streams go through, right. And what, Francis, what were you saying? Somebody, Terry. They slooshed the, is that a word? I like it, yeah. Okay. So tell me how it is. Yes. Exactly. So the way that mining happened in the beginning, because where's the coal? Where is it? It's inside the mountain. How do you get there? Well, it used to be that you would dig holes. You would dig the soil and you would dig the rocks and you would get to the coal. And that still happens to some extent, but it's risky and difficult and dangerous in lots of ways. So what is the new-ish way that people have figured out to do mining in West Virginia and lots of other places? Mountaintop removal. It's actually a form of strip mining, but we all call it mountaintop removal. And in case you don't know what that is, it basically means blowing up the top of the mountain so that you expose the veins of coal that are still there. But what happens to everything that gets blown up? It goes into the rivers, it goes into the air, it stops rivers and streams and fills it up with dangerous, harmful things to water. And that includes all of the water that the people in West Virginia drink. All of it. Now, you might live way out in a holler someplace in West Virginia, and you're not super close to a mine, so maybe your well is still okay, but it's actually hard, as I understand it, to find any part of West Virginia where if you try to do a perk test and you find, to find out how safe the water is, most of the time the water is not. Though that can be at some distance from where the mining happens. Okay. This has been going on for a while now, and people kind of understand it, and then they kind of don't. Well, in the winter of 2014, which happened to be exactly when my husband and I moved to West Virginia, there was a crisis. And that crisis came about because, oh, I have another question for you. There are all these chemicals that we were talking about, They store them in tanks. And where are the tanks located, do you think? And why are they along the river, Paul? Because it's easy to collect yes, it is easy to stop by and pick it up. Well, so there are definitely tanks along the edges of all the rivers in West Virginia that I saw. And in one of those tanks, which was filled with a chemical that we all came to know, the acronym is MCHM. I do not remember the chemical name. Tank full of it. It was winter, it was cold, it was all kinds of bad weather, and right along the side of that tank, right next to the river, was a hole. I don't know how big the hole was. If it was 6 inches in diameter, that would surprise me. I think it was smaller than that. Nobody knows exactly when the hole happened or why. But there was a hole, and MCHM was flowing into the river, and the river that it was flowing into was a beautiful little river called the Elk River, which happens to be the only source of water for the city of Charleston. And because of the way these things are set up, that actually means Charleston and the area around it. So roughly 1/3 of the population of the state of West Virginia woke up one morning and went outside and said, "That's a funny smell." Though actually that happens a lot in West Virginia, so probably people didn't notice it too much. But this particular smell actually smelled like licorice. I'm not sure why. The people at the company that owned the chemicals, the tank, discovered this leak. They didn't know how long it had been there, but they discovered this leak and they called it in. They called it into the governor's office, and for reasons that have never been clarified, the governor's office took 12 hours to let anybody know. So by the end of that day, MCHM, which smells like licorice, and is also, it's water soluble, but not completely, and it's kind of sticky. So it had totally filled the pipes of everybody in the city of Charleston. Everybody. If you turned your water on once that day, if you flushed your toilet, if you were moving the water in the system, you were getting MCHM in your water. So that's thinking about the people, but I want you to help me think about all the other organizations in the city of Charleston that might have been affected by this. Any ideas? Schools. So what did they, hospitals, right. What else? Factories, yep. Farms, yes, yes. In fact, it may be easier to answer the opposite question. What was not affected by that chemical spill? Nothing that I can think of. And it was January and it was freezing and really unpleasant to be out, and the grocery stores ran out of bottled water pretty quickly. So there you have roughly 300,000 people in a city which is actually, the city itself isn't any bigger than Burlington is, but it's spread into the hollers. There's no good water. Nobody knows exactly what's wrong with it. It smells really lousy, and it could be very dangerous, but nobody actually knows, because this is the other part of the story that blew my mind. The MCHM was, at that point, one of the approximately 50,000 chemicals, which is in common use in industrial usage in this country, for which there is actually no accurate toxic measure. There was no official, this much is harmful and this much isn't. There simply isn't, even though there are laws to indicate that there should be, but there aren't. So this is, and so I arrived as the new minister in this congregation 8 days after all of this happened, and understood pretty quickly that I didn't know what this was way beyond anything I learned in seminary or that anybody had ever told me about. But I didn't really have to worry because I had the people in the congregation. And the story that I wanted to tell you is what they did. So I want you to think about, these are people, maybe half of them are born in West Virginia, a lot of them have moved there for other reasons. And they said, this is an impossible situation. We got to do something, in the way that Unitarian Universalists tend to say. So what do you think they decided to do? To get water. Yeah, they're not that savvy to know how to distill it or filter it, but they knew they had to get water. And why? For themselves? For the people who perhaps, let's say, were not well enough to travel or didn't have a car to get any place. So, yes. And there's a slide that Richard might put up there to show you what they did on the first day of this crisis. There's a sign that says water donation. Somebody made it. That's actually taped to the little fence that goes around the building. That's the office building. They just set up a water hub. So they asked people to bring water and said, we'll distribute it. Water started coming into the city. What else did they do? Maybe. They thought about all the people who were losing their jobs. A lot of people who work in restaurants, to some extent, some school employees, hotels, they're not working on salary, they're working on an hourly basis, and they only get paid when they have work, so a lot of them didn't have work. So what did the congregation do? Absolutely. Food, transportation, money, and ways for people to get it. Because you can be standing in a beautiful room and say, oh, we've got money. We have to figure out how to distribute it to people. What else did they do? Anything else you can think of? Hannah. They called their representatives, yes. We saw a lot of our representatives in the next several weeks. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And I will tell you sometime about the time I was stuck on a plane that wasn't going anywhere in the seat next to Joe Manchin, and I couldn't figure out how I wanted to talk to him. Anyway, but it's a very small state. It's a very small state. Yes, they called their representatives. And they also realized that one of the hardest things about this mess was people didn't understand exactly what was happening, what had happened, what could happen. They didn't know. So they decided that they would gather information, they would call meetings, they would reach out to the people who know. Dr. Gupta, who's now the national, in the Biden administration, who is actually working on addiction things, I think we all got to know Dr. Gupta because he made sense and he showed up at all these meetings. But education and advocacy were the other two things that they did. And there's one other thing that they did that made all the difference. They said to themselves, okay, we are upset about this, but we figure that most people in the country don't really know what's going on here. And some of those people in the country are UUs. So if we let UUs in other congregations know that this is an issue and that we need money and we can use that money in good ways to help this situation, maybe they'll give some money. So they sent out a letter. They sent it by email. One letter by email from the district office to all the congregations on the East Coast of the United States. And a lot of those people forwarded letters to their friends in California or Nevada or Montana. So suddenly, people started writing checks. Oh my gosh, it was 10 years ago. We had no way to take gifts electronically. Oh my gosh, I had forgotten. This was all checks. Letters coming. They would take up a collection or somebody decided. And suddenly there was over $25,000 that this little congregation in Charleston had to figure out how to spend in order to do something good, not only for the water, not only for the people who were directly affected, but on behalf of all those Unitarian Universalists all over the country who were caring about this. It blew my mind over and over and over again, not least of all when the congregation said, well, I guess we've got kind of a foundation now, so we'll figure out how to request applications for funds. I mean, they got very smart, and they learned a lot. And one of the many things that I learned from that experience, from that story, is why it matters that we talk about this kind of thing in our congregations. We don't have to. We could do beautiful ceremonies and have wonderful music and make each other smile and laugh, and all of that is very, very important. But sometimes there's something we can teach one another. And sometimes there's a way for us to take what we know and what we love and care about and do something. And we need to figure out who in the community that we live in might want to partner with us, or might, even more likely, already be doing the work that we think needs to be done, and we might be able to join in. We do it not because we're trying to make politics be the only thing we talk about. We do it because love is at the center, because water is life, because we care about each other, and that care doesn't stop, it just keeps going. That's what I learned from West Virginia.
Thank you, Tricia. I love that story. So this is a time for milestones and passages. If you're new, Tricia explained it earlier, you can fill out a yellow card and we read it during the service. And I have one very important milestone that I will share with you. And this was given to me by Paul and Frances Stone. Thank you. And on Friday, September 6th, very recently, Dr. Francis S. Clemens was awarded the National DAR Medal of Honor by the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Woo-hoo! The medal is awarded to an adult native-born American citizen who has displayed leadership, trustworthiness, service, and patriotism. It was awarded at a banquet in Burlington, Vermont by National DAR members and members from Vermont and a number of state DAR chapters. It was an illustrious affair that was emotionally rewarding for Francois and a well-deserved tribute. Francois, of course, in strong voice, sang for the gathering, as he has for hundreds of naturalization ceremonies at the governor's 2025 inauguration and many more pro bono gatherings. Francois now has the distinction of being an honorary member of the DAR. A once segregated organization. Just a reminder that if you have a passage or a milestone you would like to share privately with the ministers with the Caring Network, you can fill out a pink card, and a little table to the left when you leave through the middle door, there's a envelope with hearts on it. So you can write it on here, it won't be announced. Tricia and I will see it, and we will tend to you. Jordan, did you have something? There is? Oh. Of course, it's from Jordan. And Margie Young. Kate Gridley and John Barstow shared that their grandchild, Giorgio Elwin Barstow, was born August 28th to Charlie and Julia, I can't read this writing, in Tucson. Everyone is doing well, and John and Kate are there visiting. Very, very sweet. Yay. Okay. It is time for us to sing another hymn. What hymn is that? It is Shall We Gather at the River, and it's in the Teal hymnal. We're only singing the first two verses, and they'll be on the screen. Thank you.
Flowing by the throne of
Our benediction is by one of my favorite poets, Lucille Clifton. You may have heard this poem. It's called Blessing the Boats. May the tide that is entering even now the lip of our understanding carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever. And may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. Please remain seated for our postlude. Said, what about pathways? So I have a very important announcement. So pathways to connection are a nice term for announcements. But the bottom line is that everything that we share in the pathways to connection are ways for us to connect. So this is a way for you all to connect if you're not connected in this way. Our small group ministry here at CVUUS, which how many of you are in a small group ministry? Raise your hand. A lot of you, not all of you. It's a really good way to grow in community and deepen your connection to each other and to yourself. Typically, these groups of 8 to 10 people meet once a month, either in person or online. This year, we have a special year because we're following a theme-based ministry structure developed by the Soul Matter Sharing Circle. It's a network of UU congregations who follow the same monthly themes. And worship, RE, and small group ministry are all using these themes, which all explore practices that help us embody our new UU core values, liberating love. Some of the upcoming themes that you will use in small group ministry and RE and in worship are deep listening, repair, presence. I will be leading a new small group the first Tuesday of the month on Zoom in the evening. There are groups who have spaces in them, and I'm encouraging anyone who's new or anyone who's never been in a small group to think about joining a group. If you are considering joining a group, you can talk to me after service, Alan, who's going to go down at coffee hour, Marnie, who's the leader of, where are you, Marnie? Marnie's over there. She has some spaces in her group. Doug is there, and Helene back there. Okay, so I encourage you to join a small group. Thank you. Please join us for coffee hour downstairs.